What is up, enthusiasts? It is Cedar Flags here, and welcome back to yet another one of my videos. Before I start the video, I would just like to thank you all for 8,000 subscribers. We achieved this early last night, and I am not thankful enough. This is absolutely insane. I was blown away when I reached 1,000 subscribers, and I never thought in a million years I would get anywhere near 8,000. So, hopefully we can get to 10,000 soon. But anyway, let's get into this very heavily requested video. A little backstory before we get into the video. This is a part 2 of, I guess, my new series, roller coasters that will ruin your perception of height. My first video did absolutely phenomenal, and what started off as a silly idea actually became a pretty successful video. So today I wanted to do a part 2, and if you haven't watched part 1, we'll definitely check that out first. Basically what I'm doing in this video is showing you roller coasters that look a lot taller or shorter than they actually are. For example, this ride might look like it's over 100 feet, but in reality it is only 100 feet. These roller coasters really mess with your perception on height, and the more you look at it, the more bizarre it becomes. But anyway, this is Cedar Flags, and today I'm going to talk about even more roller coasters that ruin your perception on height, or look a different height than they actually are. The first one I want to get into is a roller coaster I was surprised I didn't put in my last video. This is one of my favorite roller coasters of all time, Skyrush at Hershey Park in Hershey, Pennsylvania. At a height of 212 feet or 65 meters in height, this ride looks a lot shorter than it actually is. Now, this might be because of the terrain, but this ride barely has any terrain advantage whatsoever. It's not like Lightning Rod where it's creaming down a mountain. This is on flat land, and this ride doesn't look any more than 150 feet tall. Look at a picture of Zadra at Energylandia, and then look at a picture of Skyrush. This ride is taller than Zadra and Iron Gwazi, and if we're talking about RMCs, this ride is taller than every single RMC in existence. Now, a good theory of why this could be is because the track type of the lift is a lot bigger than the track type of a normal lift, but still it just doesn't look right. Even when you look at the cars and the people on it, this ride looks nowhere near the height of a ride like DC Rivals. I think the comparison that shocked me the most is that this roller coaster is 1 foot shorter than the big one at Blackpool Pleasure Beach. Looking at a picture of the big one, it looks like a giga compared to Skyrush. I really don't get how Skyrush is that tall, but at the same time looks so tiny. Even on the lift and the drop, it does not feel like a hypercoaster, but in fact, it is. Even its competition at the other side of the park, we have Candemonium, and that ride, well, let me just say it looks a lot taller, but is around the same height. Just blows my mind. The next ride I want to talk about is actually a set of rides. I'm going to be talking about the S&S free spin coasters. These are the massive models like Batman at Six Flags Fiesta Texas, and the Joker models all across Six Flags parks. Now, you might look at these rides and say they're not that big, but surprisingly, this ride is 120 feet tall or 37 meters in height. And let me just say, it looks a lot shorter than it actually is. Think about this. This is 5 feet shorter than the original Colossus. This ride is comparable to the height of Colossus, Gemini, etc. Seeing this plopped in a lot of parks, it really doesn't seem like this ride is any more than 100 feet tall, let alone 100 feet. This ride is actually the same height as Blizzard Beach at Walt Disney World. Now, I know that is a water park, but still, looking at how tall Mount Gushmore looks compared to this, it's honestly insane that these are the same exact height. One more comparison I want to get into is that this ride is taller than the Legend at Holiday World. The Legend looks like an absolutely massive ride, and knowing that this ride is over 10 feet taller, that just blows my mind when it comes to it. Up next, we have a ride I have ridden many times. It is the one, the only, Maverick at Cedar Point. Now, I have talked about another Cedar Point coaster on this series in Wicked Twister, but today we are going to go to the other side of the park in Maverick. Maverick is an amazing intimate blitz coaster, and many people consider this one of the best, if not the best, at Cedar Point. But this ride is undoubtedly one of the shorter ones at the park, and even though it is short, it still is decently tall. At 105 feet or 32 meters, this ride does pack a decent height. But at the same time, this ride looks tiny. And by tiny, I don't mean around 90 feet, I'm talking about around 75, maybe even 60 feet in height. I don't know what it is about this ride just looks tiny. I think the most insane comparison would be its comparison to the Incredible Hulk. The drop on Maverick and the drop on the Incredible Hulk at Universal's Islands of Adventure are the same exact height. I don't know why, but that just really plays with my mind. I haven't been on Hulk, but I've seen it in person, and that ride looks absolutely massive, way taller than Maverick. Imagine Maverick just dominating the skyline at any other park. Most parks, the tallest ride is only around 100 feet. This time, it's not even one of the tallest at Cedar Point. In fact, it doesn't look any taller than some of the wild mice I've seen, which could only be 50 feet and under at some times. I'm about to say something that just doesn't sit right with me. Maverick is taller than every coaster at Indiana Beach. That means if Maverick was in the Indiana Beach skyline, it would dominate over Hoosier Hurricane and Cornball Express. That just really doesn't sit right with me. And until Quimera opens at that park or American Dry or Looping, it would be the tallest. But I do have one more roller coaster comparison that just doesn't seem real. I trust the manufacturers and the companies that tell us the heights, but at the same time, just looking at this ride in photos and then actually looking at the ride itself compared to other rides, it just doesn't sit right with me. And the last one is Shivering Timbers at Michigan's Adventure. Now, even though Michigan's Adventure does not get a lot of hype whatsoever, Shivering Timbers definitely gives the park most of its hype. This ride is an absolutely massive CCI, provides some pretty good floater and ejector airtime moments, and looks like a hypercoaster. This ride looks massive. This ride easily looks like it would tower over everything at the rest of the park, and looks like it would be taller than most wooden roller coasters. Well, what if I told you that this ride, this absolutely massive ride, was only 122 feet or 37 meters tall. Still a decent height, but nowhere near as short as I was expecting. This ride looks massive, it looks gargantuan, and it only being 122 feet, that means a few surprising stats. In fact, if you go back to the free spins, this ride is only 2 feet taller than the S&S free spins. Going down the coast to Six Flags Over Georgia, you might recognize this coaster, Blue Hawk. Well, actually, this ride and Blue Hawk are the same exact height at 122 feet. If you've ever heard of Gale Force at Playland's Castaway Cove, this ride is shorter. That is right, this ride is 3 feet shorter than Gale Force. Just imagine Gale Force next to Shivering Timbers, and knowing that Shivering Timbers would not be as tall as Gale Force. This ride is also 3 feet shorter than the Blue Fire clones. Now, some of these might vary in height, especially with the creation of Steel Taipan, but the conclusion, this ride is still shorter than those. Blue Fire doesn't look any taller than 100 feet in height, but honestly, I still can't believe this. But out of all of them, I think the comparison that really messes me up the most mentally is its comparison to the Invertigo models. What do you think is taller? Well, if you guessed Invertigos, you would be correct. Shivering Timbers is an entire 9 feet shorter than the tippy top of an Invertigo model. These include rides like Invertigo at Kings Island, what once was Stinger at Dorney Park, and a few other coasters existing around the world. It just blows my mind that looking at these semi-short coasters, this was taller than the wooden beast known as Shivering Timbers. Now, I know what you think. Yes, Shivering Timbers does have a wider structure and makes it look a lot taller than it is, and is by far the tallest and most standout attraction in the park. And I would have to say, fair enough. I think that would be a really good few factors to play into the fact that this ride looks gargantuan, even though it isn't that much taller than a free spin, which won't even make the top 5 tallest rides at a Six Flags park. Michigan's Adventure really needs something new, but I hate to go on that tangent, that's for another video. Anyway, this is Cedar Flags, that was my video. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. I didn't try to do too many comparisons just in case you all wanted a part 3. But anyway, let me know what you thought in the comments below. Like, subscribe, and let's get to 10k. This is Cedar Flags, and I will see you all later.